Today we are looking at multiplying and dividing by powers of 10, which is topic 6.4 in our textbook. Now, what do we mean by powers of 10? So, when we're multiplying and dividing by powers of 10, we mean multiplying or dividing by 10 or 100, 1,000, 10,000, 100,000, and so on. Now, to multiply by powers of 10, you need to move the decimal place to the right the same number of places as there are zeros. So sometimes you also might need to add zeros to the answer if necessary, and I'll show you some examples of that a bit later on. So just remember Mr. MR, so multiply right. So when we're multiplying, you need to move the decimal place to the right, the number of zeros that are in the number. So for the first example, let's look at 67.6487 times 10. So we're going to look at how many zeros are in the number 10. So in this case there's only one zero, so we only move the decimal place one place to the right. So the way we show this is by doing a little line over the other number and backwards to the right. Okay, so in this case the answer is 67, or 676 I should say, 0.487. Alright, so 67.6487 times 10 is 676.487. Alright, the next one we're looking at is multiplying by 100. So there are two zeros in 100, in the number 100, so we're moving it two decimal places to the right, MR, multiply right, and this will make it 6,764.87. Okay, now the third one, I think you might have this by now, three zeros in 1,000, so we need to move the decimal place three places to the right. Okay, so 67,648.7. Now you should have been writing that down, and this one as well. So when we're dividing by powers of 10, we pretty much do the opposite. So multiply, we go right. If we're dividing, we go left. So we need to remember DL, divide left. So so you move the decimal place to the left, the same number of places as there are zeros. So for the first one, obviously there is one zero. So remember we're going left this time, so we're moving our decimal place to the left, and then we put it in there, so it's 297.56. Now the second one, 29.756. This next one, three decimal places, 1, 2, 3. So 2,975.6 divided by 1,000 is 2.9756. Okay. Now, let me give you a couple of minutes to do this, so you can pause the video and remember Mr. DL. So we're going to remember this here. MR, DL, or Mr. DL, multiply right and divide left. Please pause the video and have a go at this yourself. If you need more examples, then just keep watching. Alright, so we're going to multiply. So we need to look at this sign here as the multiplication sign. And we're multiplying by 100, so this is two zeros. Therefore, we move the decimal place to the right. 1, 2. So we need to put the decimal place between the 0 and the 4. So the answer is 1430.4. The next one, three decimal places, because there's 3 zeros in 1000 and we're multiplying. Now this looks a bit weird. I can't sort of go right. There's not 3 numbers after the decimal place. So what am I going to do in this case? So if you remember back, I said sometimes you have to add zeros in. And this is one of the cases where you have to add zeros. Now adding zeros doesn't change the number. It just means we can use the decimal place. Okay, so I'm going to have to do the example here. So it's 12.7 and we need to move it 3 decimal places to the right. So 1, 2, 3. So the decimal places now got to go there. So therefore I need to put some zeros in. Alright, so 12.7 times 1000 equals 12,700. And if you think about it in your head, if you were just multiplying 12 by 1000, you know that that would be 12,000 anyway. So you can sort of double check that this answer will be correct because it's 12,700. Alright, this next one, now we're dividing. So remember when we divide, we have to go left. This number doesn't seem to have a decimal place. What am I going to do? Okay, so some of you might be yelling at the screen at me and telling me that, of course, the decimal place is actually after the 7. We don't have to write it in, though, because it's a whole number. So there is a decimal place after the 7 when we're looking at the number. So therefore, we have to move that decimal place 3 places to the left. And we also need to add zeros. So I'm going to do this here. So we're putting, this is where the decimal place is currently as a whole number. So then we're going 1, 2, 3 places, and this is where it will be now. And therefore we fill in those 2 places with zeros. Okay, therefore the number is, and you know we need to put a 0 before the decimal place if there isn't a whole number. So it's 0.007 is the answer. Righty ho, let's look at the last one. It's also division, so we divide left. So we go left 2 decimal places. And in this case it does have 2 decimal places. 1, 2. So it's 0.367 is the answer for that one. So I hope you had a go at these, and I hope you actually got some of them right, if not all of them. Now I just want to also give you a go at doing some problem solving questions. So I want you to have a go at this yourself. Otherwise, if you're not sure what to do, just listen and I'll explain it to you. 10 children sold slushies during summer. They made a total of $546. So how much did each child receive if they split the profit evenly between them? Now, we either need to multiply or divide here. So it gives me a bit of a clue by saying they split the profit evenly. Okay, so that leads me to believe that we need to divide the number between the 10 children. So each child needs to get some part of the profit. So we need to go 546 divided by 10, because there are 10 children, and we have to work out what that would be using what we know about dividing using powers of 10. So we know in this case we need to divide left, and we need to divide left by 1. And we also know from what we've learnt that the decimal place, even though this is a whole number, there's sort of like an invisible decimal place here. So we know we can move this 1 place to the left, and that will give us 54.6. Now we need to talk about it in dollar value because we are looking at dollars here. And we need to remember to use our therefore sign. Therefore, the answer is $54.60 that each child gets. And you can check that by multiplying $54.60 by 10 as well. To do, as always, pause the video and have a go and see if you can get the correct answer. Some of you may even be able to do this in your head, but I want you to show your working as always. A large bee farm produces 1,200 litres of honey per day. If there are 1,000 millilitres in 1 litre, how many millilitres of honey can the farm's bees produce in 1 day? Now, it's in litres, so we actually need to change it to millilitres. And there are 1,000 millilitres in 1 litre. So we need to work out how many millilitres there will be in 1,200 litres. So we need to multiply it together. So 1,200 times 1,000. Now we need to remember Mr. multiply right. So there are 3 zeros in this, in 1,000, so we have to move the decimal place right. So, and as always, there's an invisible decimal place there. So we've got 1,200. And there's a decimal place, and we need to move it right 3 places. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Wow, this is going to be a big number. Decimal place is going to be here. Alright. Therefore, the answer is and it'll be millilitres. Oh, that's 1,200,000 millilitres. That's how many millilitres of honey they can produce in 1 day. That's a lot of honey. Alright, so hopefully you were able to get those answers correct. And I wish you all the best with your work tomorrow.